if you have fibromyalgia, you're going to pay attention to this short video because I'm going to share with you the number one thing you got to get right to be able to have the opportunity to start to reduce the symptoms associated with fibromyalgia. After specializing in fibromyalgia for 20 years, working with patients all over the world, I can tell you definitively that the number one thing you've got to get right is deep restorative sleep. Sounds easy, but as you know, with fibromyalgia, it can be very difficult. Individuals with fibromyalgia oftentimes have trouble falling asleep, and they oftentimes have trouble waking up in the middle of the night and not going back to sleep. It's rare, if ever, that they feel rested the next day when they wake up. And yet this first step of the jumpstart process, what I call the jumpstart protocols, is crucial for getting it right. If you don't get this right, you're going to find you're always going to be suffering with chronic diffuse achy pain, fatigue, brain fog, may have some anxiety, depression issues, irritable bowel, restless leg syndrome. All these symptoms associated with fibromyalgia or triggered or made worse by poor sleep. And if you think about it, when you started your fibromyalgia journey, maybe in the beginning it was after a surgery or difficult event that happened in your life, a toxic workplace, a toxic home environment, but some type of stress that had been gnawing at you for a while, or some type of an immediate stressor, a loss of a loved one, or recovering from a surgery, whatever it is. But this stress put all this biochemical stress on you, and it started to deplete the chemicals that your body needed to be able to handle that stress. So in the beginning, you might have seen that you started struggling with your sleep. I hear this all the time, that was probably the very beginning, or at least early on in the beginning of your diffuse achy pain and fatigue that you have with fibromyalgia. So I hear this all the time that, my patients started struggling with their sleep, and then pretty soon, they're full-blown insomniac. And part of that is that when you do have this diffuse achy pain associated with fibromyalgia, it can be hard to get comfortable, either to fall asleep or to be able to stay asleep. You also have issues where you've depleted your stress coping chemicals. I want to talk to you a little bit about that today. And that can sabotage your ability to be able to get your body working like it's supposed to be able to get your symptoms under control. But if you think about it, we think about sleep. We think about that whole process. Let's see if I can find this, what I want to share with you here. Here we go. If you think about what happens when you go into, when you're sleeping at night, it's the body's opportunity to be able to repair itself. That's what it's doing. It's repairing your muscle and soft tissues. It's releasing certain chemicals to help you to get rid of any kind of toxic chemicals that you have in your brain. Your brain literally at night shrinks to allow these chemicals to be able to get out of your brain. So your lymphatic system is actually moving lymph through your body to help you get rid of potential toxins that you may be storing. But just to think about deep restorative sleep, the importance of it. If you're not getting a good night's sleep on a consistent basis, if you're struggling to fall asleep or to stay asleep, and you're waking up day after day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year of not feeling rested, obviously you're going to be tired, right? I mean, that's just part of it. So some of the fatigue that we see with fibromyalgia is just because you're not getting good, deep restorative sleep. The diffuse achy pain that you have with fibromyalgia, big part of that is being driven by the stress you're putting on your body. We know from studies that show college kids who can live on, Budweiser beer and Krispy Kreme donuts and very little sleep for days on time, right? They can do that. But even for those super healthy, supposedly, folks, if you keep them from getting good night's sleep, you keep that from happening over a period of time, over a few days, they start to develop all the symptoms that we see in fibromyalgia: diffuse achy pain, fatigue, brain fog, feeling anxious, stressed out, depressed, irritable bowel, problems with restless leg syndrome. All these things start to show up because your body's got to have that time to repair itself. And I like to use this analogy that we're all born with a stress coping savings account. And in that stress coping savings account, we have certain chemicals that allow us to deal with stress. So anytime we're under stress, we're releasing these chemicals to help us to be able to deal with that stress. When we go in to deep restorative sleep, that's when the body is making deposits into our stress coping savings account to allow us to have this reserve, to have this savings, so that the next day when we wake up, we encounter stress. And, everybody's under stress. It just depends on how well your body is able to navigate it, how well you can adjust to it and then move on from it. But if you have depleted if you've made more withdrawals than you have deposits into your stress coping savings account, that's where you start to see the poor health start to show up. The symptoms of fibromyalgia start to show up. And part of that is because you have a self-regulating system in your body called the hypothalamus gland. And this gland is really just a bundle of nerves. And what it's designed to do is to take in information and then process it and then send out signals either through hormones or chemical reactions or nerve cell communication to be able to cause the body then to react in an appropriate way. Your hypothalamus controls your sex hormones. It controls your neurotransmitters, your brain chemicals. It controls your digestion, your elimination, your immune system. It controls your body temperature. It helps to regulate your body temperature. So if you go outside on a hot day, you may notice that you break out in, start to perspire. That's your body's way of cooling off. If you're going up a flight of stairs, then your body is releasing chemicals, in particular norepinephrine, to help you have more energy to be able to get up those stairs. More blood is released into your muscles to help you to be able to have that oxygen and the nutrients that you need to be able to get up a flight of steps. So the body's always monitoring what's going on and then making these adjustments. But when the hypothalamus gets under too much stress, then it starts to have problems regulating these different systems. And one of the biggest stressors is poor sleep. When that happens, we start to see all sorts of problems show up. And the process of poor sleep, we see that not only does it make you tired, as I mentioned earlier, but your body starts to release certain hormones, including one called substance P. And the higher your substance P level, the more pain you have. And part of that is due to the higher your substance P level, the lower your serotonin, a brain chemical. Let me talk more about that. So when you have this issue with making these deposits into your stress coping savings account, one of those chemicals you're making deposits into that account is serotonin, which is the happy hormone. So serotonin is really important for regulating our mental clarity, our moods, our pain, whether we perceive pain or not, our sleep-wake cycle, so our circadian rhythm, even our digestion and elimination. One of the things that really separates someone from fibromyalgia from someone who has chronic fatigue syndrome, a lot of commonalities, a lot of things that are the same are shared. But for fibromyalgia in particular, you're low in a brain chemical called serotonin, this stress coping chemical. And the higher your serotonin level, the higher your pain threshold, so you have less pain. The higher your serotonin level, the less anxious you are, the happier you are. It's called the happy hormone. The higher your serotonin level, the more mental clarity you have. The higher your serotonin level, the less likely you are to have irritable bowel syndrome, because you have more serotonin receptors in your intestinal tracts than you do in your brain. When you get nervous, you get butterflies in your stomach. So serotonin is really key for helping you regulate these different systems. It's the stress coping hormone. And there's multiple different chemicals that you need to help deal with stress, as I showed you in a slide previously. But serotonin for fibromyalgia is the key. Now, for many individuals, what they see is once they're not getting that deep restorative sleep, they deplete their serotonin level and they have no serotonin left. So now they start struggling with their sleep, with chronic pain, low moods, feeling anxious, irritable bowel, restless leg syndrome. All these things start to show up because of low serotonin. They're oftentimes they're told that they need to be on an antidepressant to help with their low serotonin state. The problem is that antidepressants, whether that's Celexa, Cymbalta, Lexapro, Paxil, Savella, it doesn't matter what antidepressant you're using. You need to realize that antidepressant doesn't make serotonin. It only helps you hang on to what you have. So if you're already deficient in serotonin from years of poor health, poor sleep, you've depleted your stress coping savings account, then you're going to see that antidepressant is probably not going to do a whole lot. Now, it may work for a short period of time, for 6 months, a year, 2 years, but eventually it quits working, if it works at all. And many of the studies, in fact, 70% of the studies out there show that an antidepressant, prescription antidepressant, is no better than a sugar pill for these studies. So 70% of the time, a sugar pill is as effective as an antidepressant. Now, not to step on anybody's toes, and don't stop your antidepressants or any medications, but just realize that antidepressants are like using a gasoline additive. They don't make serotonin. They only help you get more mileage out of what you have. But if you're driving, around with an empty gasoline tank, running on fumes, it's not going to really be that helpful. It's like, if you're using a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor and there's nothing to reuptake, it's really not going to do much. So the first step for fibromyalgia is deep restorative sleep, so that you start to replenish your stress coping savings account with the chemicals your body needs to be able to handle stress. And in particular, serotonin is the key. Now, there's natural ways to get serotonin, and that comes in the form of an amino acid called 5-hydroxytryptophan. Amino acids are what make up protein. So when we eat protein foods, we're getting these amino acids into our bodies that then turn into different hormones. 5-hydroxytryptophan turns into serotonin when it's combined with synergistic B vitamins, magnesium, and vitamin C. So rather than taking an antidepressant using a gasoline additive for an empty gasoline tank, you can take over-the-counter 5-hydroxytryptophan and a good multivitamin. My patients use the Fibro formula. It's designed to, when paired with 5-HTP, to make serotonin. But you can take these over-the-counter supplements, and you can actually be putting serotonin right into your body without the potential side effects that antidepressants often have. Ironically, antidepressants can cause anxiety and depression, as well as diffuse achy muscle pain, fatigue, and they deplete you of your natural sleep hormone melatonin. So I want to encourage you to learn more about getting a good night's sleep. There's all sorts of free resources on my website, yourfibrodoctor.com or superhealthyhuman.com, where you can learn more about natural things you can do to get your serotonin level up, which will reduce your pain, help with your energy, help you get a good night's sleep, help with mental clarity issues, low moods, anxiety, restless leg syndrome, and irritable bowel. I know it sounds like a panacea, and it's not. There's other steps that you have to take. But if you can get to the point to where you're able to fall asleep within 45 minutes every night, sleep through the night, or at least if you have to wake up during the night, you're able to go back to sleep. And you do that, you're able to do this on a consistent basis. You're going to see within a period of 2 to 4 weeks where you're feeling better mentally and physically than you have in a long time. And you can see these protocols again at yourfibrodoctor.com or at superhealthyhuman.com. See the protocols I recommend on how to use 5-HTP, a multivitamin, and some other sleep aids if you need to. But that's the first step. You got to get that right, okay? You got to get the ability to be able to fall asleep at night, sleep through the night so the body can repair itself, and you can start to get control of your fibromyalgia. Thanks for joining me for this video, and check out more at yourfibrodoctor.com.